And that is the regret that you have. That's regret number one. That's pain number one. The second problem is that every single person at the time of death goes through intense pain. What is the proof for that? The proof for that is of course from the life of Rasulullah, that he was going through a lot of pain. Also, the proof for that is that Rasulullah said that the people who die as a shaheed, as a martyr, will not feel pain except a pinch. Meaning that therefore anyone who doesn't die as a martyr will feel more than a pinch at the least. So there will be an intense pain that you go through at the time of death. So do not fool yourself. Even if people have passed away in their sleep, they have felt a pain, wallahi, you do not know of. And they could have been next to you, and wallahi, you do not know of it. And the third thing, which perhaps people do not think about, is that the shaitan will come and test you at the time of your death. And this is very important. The third thing, and this is something which all the scholars agree upon, Shaykh Pt.2 rahimahullah in his fatwa says, yes, this is true. And it has been reported from many of the righteous companions of Rasulullah that they were tested at the time of the death by the shaitan. And let me give you the example of the death of Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, as reported by his son, Abdullah ibn Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he was the Imam, and his son was Abdullah, a righteous man as well, and a student of the Imam. And he wrote in his book called As-Sunnah, in page number 52, he relates in there the time of the death of my father. Amazing, listen to this. He is quoting verbatim, and this is the first eyewitness account of how his father died. He said, I walked into the hut when my father was passing away. And when I walked into the hut, my father was on the throes of his death. At that point I said, Ya Abati, oh my father, say La ilaha illallah. Oh my father, say La ilaha illallah. Do you know what Imam Ahmad did at that point? He said no. Wallahi, this is true. This is exactly eyewitness report of the Imam passing away. He said no. And then again, Abdullah said, I became so worried when he said no. He said, no Abi, please, don't pass away as a disbeliever. Say La ilaha illallah. And then Imam said, no. And then a third time again, no my father, please, do not pass away. Please say La ilaha illallah. And at that point the Imam said emphatically, no. Meaning never. Kalla, never. Ya salam, this is the Imam passing away at the time of his death as an eyewitness report by his own son. And you can go back to it and check it for yourself. Look at this. So Abdullah continues and he said, I became very worried. So I went outside the hut and I got all the students. And I said, please come in, my father is saying no. He's not saying the shahada and he's saying no, he doesn't want to believe. At that point, when they came into the hut and Imam was still there, he said, no, hold. And the Imam, he woke up from whatever he was on. And at that point, he said, no people, hold on a bit. Hold on, let me tell you just what just happened. This is the Imam saying from his words, directly as reported by his son. He said, listen to what happened. When my son had come into the room, and he asked me to say La ilaha illallah, at that point the shaitan came and he sat on my head. And he told me, oh Imam, I am your God, believe in me. So I told the shaitan, La, and my son thought I was replying to your question. And the second time also, the shaitan told me, believe in me, I am your true Lord. At that point, I was replying to the shaitan, and you thought I was replying to you. And the third time as well, when he kept on asking me, the shaitan asked me, this is your last chance, oh Imam, believe in me, or I will throw you into the fire of hell. At that point, the Imam said no, and emphatically, and I threw him off my head. And this is the Imam, Ahmad rahimahullah, saying that he was being tested at the time of death. Do you think you will get the chance to say La ilaha illallah? Do we have these dreams that we are going to say somehow we're going to do a life of sin and somehow Allah Ghafoor Rahim, so khalas, we will just say La ilaha illallah and we'll pass away. Everything will be fine. Do we have these dreams? Many of us have these illusions. They're illusions only. How do you know at the last moment that you will still continue upon the belief? Wallahi, you could lose it at the last moment. And you could just destroy your lifetime of ibadah. So protect yourselves. Wallahi, this is going to happen to every one of us. Every one of us will have this happen to him. And this is by the consensus of the scholars. And we can see how the righteous people had it to them. And we will surely have it as well. Because the shaitan will keep on trying to the last moment to take us to hell with him. So my brothers and sisters in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us again and again in the Quran. Imagine yourself on the deathbed. And probably you're going to be in a hospital. and your father, and probably your children, and your wife, and your granddaughters, and your grandsons, etc., all around you whilst you're passing away. And at that point, suddenly the heart monitor stops beeping. And suddenly the whole of the hospital starts rushing at you. All the specialists and all the doctors. Everyone starts rushing. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes this very moment in Surah Al-Qiyamah, verse 26 to 30. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كَلَّا إِذَا بَلَغَتِ التَّرَاقِ Rather, when the soul has reached the throat, وَقِيلَ مَنْ رَاقٍ And it is said, who will save him? Just like your daughter and your wife will be saying, oh doctor, please save my father. Do something, please. And your daughter becomes hysterical and she starts crying. Oh, my father's passing away, please someone do something. وَقِيلَ مَنْ رَاقٍ And it is said, who will save him? وَظَنَّ أَنَّهُ الْفِرَاقِ And the person who's passing away knows that this is the firaq, this is the separation. وَالْتَفَّتِ السَّاقُ بِالسَّاقِ And when in the grave, the legs will be intertwined with the other. In the grave. And what is this referring to? This is referring to an authentic narration in Sunan, in the collection of At-Tabarani, in Mu'jam Al-Awsat. The Tabarani, rahimahullah, he mentions in his Mu'jam that verily every single person will be crushed by the grave until his ribs will be intertwined with one another. There is not a single person except that he will be crushed by the grave. No one that will go into the grave